We're moving on to the 11.1, acknowledgement of the New South Wales Land and Environment Court judgment on the 2nd of June. Councillor Williamson, are you moving your motion?
Yes, I'll move.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Rose.
On the first occasion, the Andersons' submission to council was not included in the papers before us. At that time, I asked, what was in that submission and why it hadn't been included. And I was advised that it didn't include anything of relevance to the matter. I spoke to our General Manager, Mr. Hogan, at the time, and I asked that it be removed from the council agenda, and indeed it was. It then came back to council sometimes later. Actually, when it was removed, I asked that we receive updated legal advice from Lindsay Taylor lawyers addressing the Almata case. When it came back to council, it didn't come back with updated legal advice. But I asked what the situation was, and we were advised that council had received verbal legal advice that told us everything was okay. Well, colleagues, it turns out everything wasn't okay. We got this wrong. This motion is designed for us to look in the mirror and to be humble. We should acknowledge the decision of the court. We should note that decision aligns with the submission from the Andersons and indeed the presentation kindly given to us by Candice Anderson, and to apologise to them for them having to go to all of this trouble to correct our understanding of the situation. And that we should commit to having a good look at our procedures so we don't get into this situation again.
You've got to give credit to the Andersons for pursuing that, but it's very disappointing that we're paying professional people and getting advice like this is not good. And we need a report. When do we get a report coming to this council? When do we get a report?
Yeah, look, through you, Mr. Mayor, I think that's a very, very good suggestion, and a report that's actually accompanied with a briefing from the lawyers, I think would be advisable, Councillor Stewart.
Where I asked for the renewed advice, and I was told that there was no renewed written advice, that our planning staff had a telephone conversation with Lindsay Taylor's lawyers, who had said there was no need to amend their advice.
Mr. Mayor, this is obviously an issue that we would rather not have happened. And the recent judgment, I suppose, is clear. The court found that 2 development consents issued by the council were void and of no effect. So it's certainly appropriate the council now formally acknowledge the outcome. Whatever our views at the time, the court has determined that since the decisions were made, they were legally incorrect. So I think that is a pretty serious issue, and I'm proposing to bring another motion at some stage to the council around verbal advice, because we've heard verbal advice is received about a range of matters, but it's very clear that verbal advice isn't worth the paper it's written on. So we've got an issue there, I think, to deal with. No. But in terms of where we are now, it's incumbent upon us, I think, to offer an apology, and that's what the motion seeks to do. And I noticed that under Section 8A to E of the Local Government Act, it says council decision making should be transparent, and decision makers are to be accountable for decisions and omissions. So I think what Councillor Williamson has proposed is a very fair and reasonable story. We're being accountable for decisions and omissions. Council did make a legal error. Residents identified the issue and raised it with supporting documentation, and their concerns weren't adequately heeded. And so they were left with no choice but to seek the intervention of the court. So apology in this section, in this sense, is not a sign of weakness, nor is it an admission of wrongdoing. Really, it's just a sign of integrity, a recognition that we're willing to learn from our mistakes and that we value the role residents play in holding us accountable. It's healthy democracy, in fact. Actually, it's what the Local Government Act expects of us. Council decision-making should be transparent, and decision makers are to be accountable for decisions and omissions. So we are voting on whether in this instance the council got it wrong and whether it's appropriate to say so publicly and to improve our processes. It's clear that we do need to improve our processes. And I think, as the interim CEO has suggested, getting a full report is important from both the council's staff point of view as well as from the legal advisors, because there's a lot to learn. So I suppose the final part of Councillor Williamson's motion commits us to a review of how we handle the submissions. And I think that is the most constructive way forward. We obviously need to do better. So really, this is not a judgment on personalities or broader disputes, but it's just a principal step that we have an obligation as councillors to take when there's been legal correction. So I think Councillor Williamson's motion is a very reasonable motion. I think it says, yes, we got it wrong. We apologise for the way this was done, and we're going to look at our processes in the future and amend them and improve them. And part of that improvement, I think, has to be when I overhear the story, I've got verbal and legal advice. We have to be very careful. Thank you.
So I think before we proceed any further, we should be getting a report from our staff and our lawyers to find out, to go down this other path. If we get the right, and we're convinced that our lawyers didn't give us the right advice, we should apologise to the Andersons or the people involved. And if our staff didn't give us the right advice.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Councillor Rose, Councillor Rooney, Councillor Williamson. All those against? Councillor Summers, Councillor Higgins, Councillor Stewart, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Davis, Councillor Hopkins, Councillor Hannah. Lost.